Hi, and welcome to episode 104 of the Heartland Knits podcast. My name is Vicki, but you can find me as Heartland Knits on Ravelry and Instagram. And today is Sunday, April 26th, 2015. I wanted to thank everybody for watching the show, and also last week right up front, I said, come over and find me on Instagram, and a bunch of people did. So thank you all for doing that too. This was a pretty good week. I got a fair amount of knitting done. I kind of did my sort of how I used to always be working. I had worked on a little bit of a lot of things. So I'm going to start out right off and show you what I've been knitting on. And I think I'll start out with the mitten that I showed you. I started last week. I was on the cuff, and that's this mitten, the Sweet Nectar mitts, which are my birthday mittens. I bought the kit for this for my birthday a week or so ago, and last week I was just to the cuff, and now I have half of the first mitten done. So you're going to say it looks like the whole mitten done, but it's only half. So I have one mitten done. I love how they came out. I love working with the yarn. This was from Tanis Fiber Arts. It's her yellow label DK, and it's the natural color, and then it's called Iris, and it's got blues and kind of purples and violets and even some like little browns. It's dyed really beautifully, and I love it's not really showing up, but I love how the little birds had turned out mostly blue. It was really nice to knit with. I think I want to do an entire sweater with this yarn. That's how much I loved it. I did a couple changes when I finished the whole mitten. I did one change right off. If you can see one of my little things, you can see the top of those mittens are sort of squared off. I need to make a pointy, so I made a nice little pointy top. And when I finished it the first time, and then went back to do the thumb, I decided that the whole mitten was too short, and I got stitch gauge, and I also had row gauge. I used size 3 needles to knit the whole thing, and I think I just don't have the smallest, daintiest little hands. So because remember I did the twined mitten this winter that I had to extend that out too. I don't like the top of my fingers to hit the top of the mitten, and I have pretty long fingers, and I usually have pretty long nails, and so I could feel the top of the mitten, and it was just felt too short. So I extended it out kind of 6 rows. I kind of did, each one of those out, and so that I could finish the top of this side especially. I just think it's the sweetest little thing. It's got a little heart at the top. I mean, just a really, really pretty little detail. It has a top of this side too. And to extend this side out, I just kind of knit and scattered these little kind of diamonds and some little individual stitches. Just kind of scattered them around so that it would fill up this area, just to make it a little bit longer. And so that worked out well, but it's got a lot of little pretty details on the thumb. It's got a heart right on the thumb, and then on each side of the thumb it's got a like flower. Really, really beautifully done. And so this is half of it, because if you notice that I've got needles on and I'm attached, it's got a lining. So I have started the lining, and what you do for this is it's got the hem. First you have to work all the ends in. So it's kind of nice you know you've got all those ends in, and so the lining is a solid color, so there won't be like a lot of ends, just kind of where you know start the thumb and end the thumb and the top of the mitten. But um, the outside, the stranded part is her, I think it's BFL. So, but it's not, it would be fine to use without having the lining, but the inner is her MCN, so it's super soft. And I'm going to stick this back in. So what you do is I don't think I've ever knit a pair of mittens that had the lining in it, but you just pick up stitches around the inside. This has got a nice little hem, and you pick up stitches around and then just kind of knit a mirror of the mitten that you just made, and it will like just fit inside of there. But I'm gonna let you look inside, but doesn't that leave the nicest, prettiest finished look? You don't have to worry. There were some pretty long floats in the inside of here, but you don't really have to worry about it as long as you leave enough yarn so that it stretches. You don't have to worry about getting a finger cut or caught, or your like a ring caught when you're putting your hand in it, because it's going to have that lining and all those floats are going to be in the inside. So, but it just leaves such a beautiful kind of finished off, really professional almost looking mitten, that I think if you wanted to, you were going to make stranded mittens for like a gift or something, doing it this way is just, it looks so beautiful. So I just done kind of the cuff. You have to increase just like you do for the gusset for the thumb, and I've just done kind of my first one of those, and then you just keep going. So I really enjoyed knitting this. I love how it's turning out, and I loved knitting. I love knitting with this yarn, so I think there'll definitely be more Tanis coming this way. The other thing that one of the other things that I've been knitting on is I've been doing the clicks for Kylie. I showed you one little baby hat that I was working on, and I started a second one. It's not quite done, so but I'm knitting it out of the Lion brand Baby Soft in a lavender color. And so this is kind of just, I was working on this morning. I think I'm about ready to where I'm going to start the decreases for the crown, because it's a little baby hat. But I started this one kind of like you would do a Latvian mitten, and did like a 2-color cast on, and then a couple like little half braids, one with like a solid color and one with the 2-color, then this little bit of lace, and then another 2-color half braid, just to give it kind of a little bit of something. And then I'm just knitting plain stockinette, and it'll be, I think, just decreased for the top. So I have the second one of these, and I think I'm probably going to do one more, because I think she needs them by kind of mid-May. So, and that is a project for my friend's daughter, who is doing a project for her senior year about shaken baby syndrome, which is what the purple hats symbolize. So I worked on that a little bit, and I worked on my shawl out of my spindle spun yarn, and I am up to here. And if you notice, I finally got to the middle color. It's a gradient that I spun on a spindle last summer, and I'm just kind of doing a shawl with it's starting out with bands of this kind of lacy pattern, and it is working their way down, and I finally got to the lightest color, and I think I finally got in my head sort of how I want to finish it off. So it's been kind of sitting this way for a couple weeks, but I want to really get back to it. I'm working this on size 6 needles, and the yarn is sort of a heavy lace. So there is that. Then I have one more project that I worked on, and that is I have it's half done. I finished off one sock of the stripy socks that I have on the needles. This is lollipop yarn. I think I've decided the color. I've kind of misplaced the little card that comes along with it, but a viewer wrote to me, and I can't think of what her name was, and said, I think it could be this one or it could be this one. And I think it was it was called Kiss Me, because that really, I think that's what this colorway was called. And so I finished off just the ribbing. I had just a little bit left so that I could start off a toe and have kind of a plain knitting project if I needed it. So I thought I'll just quickly, I know I've done this before, but not for quite a while. This is just kind of my plain vanilla sock pattern. I do them toe up. I start with the Turkish cast on, and I do my increases. I don't know if it's going to show, but I don't know if you can see. A lot of times the increases will be where they have like either a single line or a single stitch or 2 stitches just plain knit, and then you increase on either side. Well, I don't do that. I like to have I do my increases right on the edge. It takes me 2 rounds to do like the 4 increases for the top of the foot and the bottom of the foot, because you can't increase 2 stitches right next to each other. So the first round I increase on one side of the top of the foot and the other side of the top of the foot, and then I go across the bottom and I increase on the bottom of the foot. And then the second round I knit this straight, and then when on the bottom of the foot I increase over here and then go straight. So it's 4 increases for every 2 rounds. And I just really like how it looks, but I like how it feels better. I have the Princess and the Pea Feet, so I knit my socks at the gauge of 10 stitches to the inch. I use a size 0, which is 2 millimeters, and to get, with that small of a gauge, I have to bump up the stitch count. So I have 76 stitches on my needle for my socks. And I really like the fabric. I like how they feel. I like how they last. So that's why I do that. And then I do an afterthought heel. I like how it looks, especially with the stripy socks, but I've worked out where I really like how it fits on my foot. It's the best fitting heel for me. And I have changed kind of how I do the decreases. I decrease every 4th row 5 times. And you have to take into account that I have probably more stitches on the needle than a lot of people do because I knit them to that small gauge. So I decrease every 4th row 5 times, and then I decrease every row like 6 times. And I might just do it 5 times and then like throw a middle one in there. It depends. Some sock yarns are a little bit thinner than others. But it extends the decreases out, and I have a pretty high instep, and this is the heel that fits me the best. That's really part of the fun of like especially when you're kind of a newish sock knitter, that you can try out all kinds of different stuff and find the thing that fits your foot the best. and that you enjoy doing. So this is what I found that works for me. And I also love it that if kind of the heel is where of any of my socks where it has worn out has always been the heel, and an afterthought heel is so super easy to like rip out and replace and make it look like good again. And so then I because I just do kind of stockinette socks, and then for my decreases or my ribbing, it's not really showing. I kind of don't like them when you just kind of go right into the ribbing and it all like sucks in around there. I don't like to have I just want it to be kind of gradual. And so I start adding, doing ribbing, adding a purl stitch every kind of 8 stitches. So it's like purl 1 and then knit 7 and then add another purl. If you kind of divide that into 76, no, it doesn't come out even, but eventually it works out. So and so I do that for about 7 or 8 rounds, and then I add another purl column so that there's like purls separated by 3 stitches, 3 knit stitches, and I do that for a little bit, and then I add another purl column and do knit 1 purl 1 for about 3/4 of an inch or so. And I really like how I'll take this off so maybe you can see. So it makes it comes in a little bit, but it doesn't do that like totally like sucked in. Because I need more ribbing than just like an inch at the top, but I really like how that works. And then my cast off that I found that I like to use is it's a form of a tubular cast off. It's kind of what you use for double knitting, is kind of how I learned to do it. And I don't kind of switch them into, separate it into like the knits on one needle and the purls on the other. I do them all on the same needle, and it's just kind of a 4-step process that you do with the needle, kind of similar to Kitchener. It's just kind of the process that you do, but it gives the tubular kind of edge where it just kind of rolls over the top. It makes it really super stretchy, but it makes it look nice still without, some of those really stretchy bind offs when they're not on, they look a little bit messy. So anyway, that is my half done one, and then I just started the second toe, and I just have the toe finished. I was considering, because I don't know if you remember, I started this sock on New Year's Day. I took it to the movie and was knitting on the movie at the movies with it, and so I just kind of use these as if I need something to knit while waiting for an appointment or something. So I thought about, because it's spring and just starting a different pair so I could have another sock just so it would be different colors and be more like summery, springy summery. And then but I thought, well, I really love this color and it's fun to knit on, and so I went ahead and started the second one of those. So that's what's been on my needles. So I don't have any finished projects because I'm not quite finished with that little baby hat, but I did do a little spinning this week. I did spin a little on the loop bat that I'm working on. I showed you a couple weeks ago. I'm working on this loop bump on my Reeves frame wheel, and I just kind of left it. I'm still on the same color, but I did do a little bit of work on a spindle project with using this spindle, which is a spindle wood. I think the wood is flame wood, and I think the shaft is ebony, but I am doing this. It's a really light pink, and it's gonna be a lace weight 2-ply. It's not really showing up there. Um, I started this project a long time ago. This is the fiber. It's a merino silk, and this really pretty pink. It's called Cherry Blossom, and it was dyed. Let's see, I got the spindle and the fiber at Madrona. I think Madrona 2009. So it's been a while. um, but it's lovely stuff. It was dyed by, it's naturally dyed. It was dyed by Tactile, which I'm not even sure if she still dyes, but she did all kind of natural dyeing, and so I think this was dyed with cochineal, and it's this really pretty pink. This was sort of my project. It's a kind of a short little spindle, so um, it's easy to use when you're sitting down. And so this was sort of one of my little like travel kind of spindle projects. I took this when I was going someplace um, because it fit in. I have a little box that it would fit in, and um, I think it came to Hawaii a couple times, and so I took it out and thought, I I really should like finish this. So, and this is the nice little it's one of these. It's got like stretchy elastic, and the spindlewood people sell these, or I think when I got the spindle they and it just fits on the bottom like that, so it protects the hook a little bit. So anyway, I worked on that for a little bit. It is nice, soothing, just simple spindling. So in Imagine Knitting this week, last week it was all about the mittens, and this week it's all about the shawls. I have that one shawl on the needles that I kind of want to get going on it and kind of like finish that up. But now that I kind of have a plan, it'll be easier. But so the next thought that it's getting to be, nice, springy, thinking about summer, and I'm always cold whenever I have to go in some place in the summertime because the air conditioning in places is always just too cold for me. So whether, the store or out to eat or church or wherever, I'm always cold. So I always have a shawl with me, and that's when I wear kind of most of my shawls. So I was thinking, I was, looking at trying on like dresses and stuff, and thinking about, I had this yarn, which I wound up at the beginning of the year in January sometime, that this is spindle, no, it's wheel spun, hand spun, that I spun last year. It's I think it's an Angora, no, I don't know, alpaca Angora maybe, I'm not sure anymore. But it was dyed by Lisa Sousa. It's super soft. And I have a goodly yardage. I have about 650 yards. It's a lace weight. And I had wound this up, and I was going to knit, I think, the Midsummer Shawl by Sylvia Harding. And I don't know why, I just never kind of started with it. I was like, there were going to be beads in it, and I didn't know if I had enough beads and stuff. But kind of that shawl, I've always had it in my head that I wanted to use this yarn, which is not kind of showing up the right color. It's a very sort of pale, kind of lavenderish kind of shade. And this was, one ply of this was spindle spun, and the other ply was a silk thread from Habu that I plied with it that was the same exact color. So I have a lot of yardage. I have 980 yards of this. So, but in my head, I always kind of pictured like that really lacy shawl. So I didn't know if I wanted to knit it knit the midsummer shawl with the green or the lavender. Which, if I knit it with the lavender, it left me with what design should I knit with the green, because I love the pink, and I have a lot of like floral dresses, and this would would go with a lot of them. So I would really like to get this knit by like summertime so that I have it to wear. Um, so I have been thinking, well, um, when I see this green, I kind of think, oh, it could be something leafy. And so I was thinking, well, Jenna Retro Lemon did kind of a kind of leafy kind of pattern. She did this one last year, um, called The Leaves of Change. I thought, well, that would be pretty. I have a little bit more yardage than what she calls for, but I think that, I could extend it out a little bit or something. And then I came across this one, which is a Boo Knits pattern that I have not made yet. And this is called Resolute Spirit, which I've done a lot of the Boo Knits shawls, but this one has kind of the lace all the way down, where a lot of them start out with a section with just either stockinette or garter. But she has like really pretty, this one's very heavily beaded also, and stuff. So I'm thinking about doing that with this one. And then here, I'll show you, this is the Midsummer, which is really pretty. And that is Sivia's design, which I wanted to do that one for a long time. So I don't know. It's all about the shawls. I want to knit like some new shawls, and I need to knit a replacement for I always kind of have a Faroese shawl around my shoulders because they stay on your shoulders really well, and I kind of wear one around the house all the time. And I've kind of gone through several of them, and the one that I've been wearing has just been just kind of, there are like huge holes in it, and it's actually a hand spun one. So I need to replace that. I know it takes about 2 weeks to knit it if I just knit that alone, and even though I probably won't wear it that much starting, when it gets nicer, I do want to be able to have it like if I go to camp or something, because it's like always cold in the camp classroom. So anyway, I have shawls on the brain this week. But that is, I don't have a whole lot for show and tell. I will tell you that the pretty shoes went away. I know, I felt so bad sending them back. But I, put them on and was walking around and just thought, because they're expensive, and for full price, they pretty much have to be perfect. If they were, if I got them, they were on sale like during the summer or something, and I got them and they came like kind of really different like that, I could deal with it. But at full price, they pretty much have to be perfect. So the shoes went away, but I got a new little, so I was shopping yesterday, and I saw this little cookie cutter, which, here, put this so you can see it. It's a little shoe. It's like a little pump. So I'm going to make some little sugar cookies or shortbread cookies with my little shoe. There, you can see it. Make some little shoe cookies, but I'll get a replacement for those. But yeah, I think that is all that I have for you. The podcast can be found on iTunes and YouTube. I don't know, am I the only one? Did YouTube do something weird? That if you have, because I had a bunch of like YouTube like pages like linked, and all the links got broken. So if you are, well, hopefully if you're watching it, you found your way there. But if you do have it linked, like just to check to make sure that the link didn't get broken. and it's on YouTube, it's Heartland Knits, 2 words. And we have the Ravelry group, which is Friends of Heartland Knits. And we have a giveaway going on in there. Well, kind of till the end of April, but it'll probably be till next Saturday because I'll probably pull the winner Sunday before I record. So going over there, you can win a bunch of stuff. We are closing in on 1,000 members too, so we might have to do something for the 1,000 member mark too. And that just blows my mind that there will be that many people in that group. Yeah, and I guess that is it. It seems like always seems like there's something that I am forgetting to say, but oh well, if I forget, I'll have to tell you next week. But I hope you have a really great week, and until I see you, from my heart to yours, happy knitting.